A little while ago, Darkmournetheflayer asked my opinion of a blog post on Deviant Art titled Ideas Are Magic, Sister Series by... I'm not immediately sure how to pronounce this. Could it be... Gorshmidt'i? Are those two capitalized I's making it into a Roman numeral? Gorshmidt II? Yeah, let's go with that last one. Starting out, Gorshmidt says, "Though I love Friendship is Magic, I've given up on it ever achieving the writing quality and soul of its first season ever again." Well, we're off to a lovely start, aren't we? I've never really understood this mentality because I cannot for the life of me see any major writing differences between any of the seasons, and that's even after taking the sharp-jumping Purple Princess into account. It's the same writers, following the same style and Bible that was left by Mrs. Faust. So how is it different? Gorshmidt goes on to talk about the potential that lies within a Friendship is Magic spin-off. Let's take a look at his points. 1. A series that follows Trixie is a chance to start with a clean slate and try ideas that have no place in Friendship is Magic. Oh, I don't like where this is going. 2. It's a chance to refine some ideas that were introduced in Friendship is Magic for further use. Such as... I'm not really sure because it's never really stated. 3. Reach older audiences. Okay, the fans of Friendship is Magic range between the ages of 5 and 50. There is no way to get that range any wider. And while every producer wants something that's successful across the board, whenever you try to appeal to everyone, you won't appeal to anyone. So always focus on 1, maybe 2 demographics. In that aspect, the fact that Friendship is Magic brought on such a diverse following is nothing short of miraculous. 4. Flesh out Equestria. Canterlot, Ponyville, Everfree Forest, Whitetail Woods, Unicorn Range, Appaloosa, Dodge, Cloudsdale, Manhattan, the Crystal Empire, Ghastly Gorge, and everywhere that they went in Daring Don't. Getting into the comics, we've got the Badlands, the Galloping Ghost Islands, and the freaking moon. Hasbro's map of Equestria marks even more cities, regions, and a couple other countries that have been mentioned in the show, but not yet visited. Then we cherry this sundae with the plethora of other species and monsters that we've seen in the show. All of this considered, how is Equestria not fleshed out? Next, Gorshmidt goes into the tone that the series would have and cites Gargoyles as an example. Now, while Gargoyles was a great show, he doesn't seem to understand that the very concepts of Friendship is Magic and Gargoyles are practically incompatible. Then he goes on to talk about the concepts he'd like to see explored in this new show, examples being violence, racism, controversy, and romance. Controversy and romance are one thing. Friendship is Magic has touched lightly on them, but hasn't made these things central to the theme of an episode quite yet. However, this is not to say that these concepts don't belong in the show and that the writers are incapable of handling it should they have to. Violence and racism, however, this irks me. If I'm correctly recognizing the pattern between this person and other people that I've had similar discussions with, he probably wants to see long, brutal brawls in the show. Now this completely overlooks the message behind Friendship is Magic, which is to show positivity and how to peacefully resolve an issue while looking through a mostly realistic lens that anyone can understand and appreciate. Beyond that, Equestria appears to be a peaceful place. It's not without its conflicts, of course. We've seen invasions, rebellions, interpersonal squabbles, and only a couple of villains didn't bring their conflicts to some form of fisticuffs. But it's not like we're constantly dealing with the threat of utter annihilation either. So exploring violence in Equestria doesn't fit well with either the universe, the type of characters, or the stories being told. Now, can someone please explain to me how we would even begin to deal with racism in Equestria? Even in the scope of Earth Ponies versus Pegasi versus Unicorns, there are no examples of one race being put above another. The closest they've come is Hearthwarming Eve, which was more like class warfare than racism. And that's not even an issue in Equestria anymore. His next point touches on the characters that would be involved. While mostly focusing on Trixie, Luna would join in the adventures and communicate through dreams. There's a bit more to it than that, but overall, his concept as described would make very little sense in execution. He makes a critique on Friendship is Magic, stating interesting characters come and go and stay gone, and completely overlooks the fact that when you're dealing with large-scale action-adventure like what he wants with this series, you're actually more likely to do just that. The first example that comes to my mind when I think of things like this are the Zatoichi movies, and how they would continuously with each movie bring on interesting characters that would then disappear or be killed off and never seen again. Gorshmidt ends on which writers he'd like to bring on, and the first thing he says is the writers of Friendship is Magic won't do. and again states that he wants the writers of Gargoyles, and this is wrong on so many levels. Firstly, writers aren't usually invited onto projects. More often than not, a writer becomes aware of an open position and applies with a resume and references. If they're picked, they're put through somewhat of an audition process that involves writing a short script for either the show itself or something that has the same feel as the show that they would be working on. Once on the show, the writers sit down with some pre-approved concepts and try to come up with stories around them. Or they come up with the concepts and try to get them approved to continue from there. So ultimately, most episodic television writers are dealing with prompts. These are not unlike the prompts that you may have been asked to work with if you've ever had a creative writing class. With all of that being said, the next big issue is assuming that the writers on staff are incapable of writing what Gorshmidt seems to want to see. To paraphrase this blog, geared towards an older audience, and things that Western media doesn't usually tackle. So how about Amy Keating-Rogers and Chris Savino, and how they've both worked on Samurai Jack? Given the tone and theme that Gorshmidt seems to be looking for, I'd say that's a good example. Or how about Charlotte Fullerton, who worked on Duel Masters, which is an anime? Or perhaps even Dave Polsky, who worked on South Park. South Park! You don't get much more geared towards an older audience than that. Furthermore, it needs to be understood that Gargoyles and Friendship is Magic are completely different shows, with the only common ground being that they both have good stories, characters, and animation. So why bother comparing them? They're both very good shows in their own right, and that doesn't make one of them better than the other. In conclusion, this idea is half-baked at its best points. It'd be one thing if he was just stating that these were things that he would like to see in the show because he thinks they're cool. But the wording that was used in this post heavily indicates that Gorshmidt believes that this show would be better if it was like this. Another post by him that was titled, "Proposals for a Better MLP," brings up very similar points. Until recently, Gorshmidt considered himself a Brawny but never really liked the show beyond Season 1. If you're a Brawny and you happen to agree with some of Gorshmidt's points, I'd like to challenge you to really reflect on why you liked the show to begin with and still watch it. I'd also like to challenge you to try and remember why Friendship is Magic is different and the quality and depth that it brings because it's different. As always, I look forward to seeing your thoughts, and be sure to let me know if you believe I missed any important points. If you have a topic you would like to hear discussed, or if you have an episode, fanfiction, product, or anything else you would like to hear reviewed, send me a YouTube message or leave a comment below. You can also drop comments, questions, topic suggestions, and review suggestions by liking Brawny Debates on Facebook, following on Twitter, or sending an email to bronydebates@yahoo.com. Have a great day, and I look forward to hearing from all of you soon.